Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the founder of CSTGIA, bringing you week 42 of Cyber Resiliency 2025. Today, we're talking about cyber peace engineering, designing stability in a weaponized world. For decades, we've engineered for speed, power, and precision, but now we need to engineer the future of peace. But what if the next great engineering discipline isn't about what we build, but rather what we prevent? Welcome to cyber peace engineering, a concept that challenges us to design not just for security, but for stability. In a world where code can now trigger crisis, algorithms can amplify conflict, and data can destabilize democracies, the role of cybersecurity professionals has expanded. We are no longer just defenders of the networks. We are actually the architect of digital peace. Think about that for a moment. The engineer as a peacekeeper, the coder as a custodian of global order, the analyst as a steward of trust. That is not science fiction. It is now, and it is the new moral frontier of cybersecurity. Because we are moving from deterrence to design. For much of modern cyber strategy, we've relied on deterrence, building bigger firewalls, faster responses, stronger encryption. Yet deterrence alone just creates a zero-sum mindset. If one side wins, another must lose. It's a logic of perpetual escalation, never arriving at peace. However, cyber peace engineering reframes the problem. It asks, how can we design systems that inherently resist conflicts, minimize escalation, and reward cooperation? This discipline draws from systems theory, behavioral science, and ethical design. Just as civil engineers build infrastructure to withstand earthquakes, cyber peace engineers must design architectures that withstand disruption, not by suppressing it, but by absorbing and adapting to it. This unrealized opportunity is enormous to embed peace as a design parameter, not a political outcome. So let's look at the three pillars of what we would consider cyber peace engineering. Cyber peace isn't just a sentiment, it is in reality a system which stands on three foundational pillars: resilience, reciprocity, and responsibility. For resilience, we need to look at the technical and organizational structures capable of absorbing shocks without cascading failures. Think of Ukraine's energy grid, which endured multiple cyber attacks through modular design and manual fallback options. That's resilience by design. Reciprocity, shared norms and feedback loops that prevent escalation. When adversaries know that certain cyber actions will trigger coordinated, transparent, and lawful responses, the system itself deters chaos. Reciprocity is governance made tangible. Responsibility, ethical foresight, and accountability in design. Every coder, analyst, and leader must ask, could my system cause harm if misused? That's not paranoia, That's professional integrity. Together, these three create a blueprint, not just for cyber defense, but rather for cyber diplomacy, where technology stabilizes instead of destabilizes. So now we need to look at enhancing engineering stability through design thinking. Let's bring this down to a very practical element. Cyber peace engineering begins with a shift in design thinking, moving from reactive controls to anticipatory systems. Here's how it looks in practice. Systems mapping. Engineers identify not just technical dependency, but socio-political interdependencies where one cyber event could ripple into economic or humanitarian impact. A scenario simulation. Teams can run digital peace games to test how systems behave under provocation or misinformation pressure. And then ethical foresight reviews. Before deployment, AI or automation systems undergo risk ethics evaluations, a fusion of safety engineering and philosophy. This is where disciplines like systems engineering, AI governance, and behavioral economics intersect, crafting an engineering model for peace that is proactive, predictive, and human-centered. We now need to look at the policy and global governance intersections from treaties to trust networks. If engineering creates the architecture, governance defines the rules of engagement. Because global policy has begun to flirt with cyber peace concepts, but we're still very far from maturity. The UN Group of Governmental Experts, UNGGE, OECD Digital Policy Guidelines, and the Talon Manual 2.0 on the law of cyber warfare each set early precedents, yet enforcement remains so very fragile. The next step is codifying peace by design principles across national cyber strategies, procurement standards, and international partnerships. Imagine if every government contract for critical infrastructure required vendors to demonstrate peace impact assessments, much like an environmental or privacy assessments do today. Peace engineering could become a standardized discipline supported by frameworks like the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 for resilience baselining, ISO IEC 42001 for AI management, the HISP-TAME model for trustworthy AI integration, and IEEE 7010 for ethical considerations in automated systems. Together, these frameworks help us move peace from aspiration to application. So the unrealized opportunity is really a global cyber peace corps. Now let's imagine something really bold. What if nations created a cyber peace corps? A coalition of technologists, ethicists, and engineers deployed to conflict zones, natural disasters, or disinformation outbreaks, and their sole function was to restore stability. This corps could serve as a neutral, values-based force under the UN or NATO partnership, dedicated to rebuilding trust in digital systems and restoring secure communication where it's needed most, from hospitals under ransomware siege to humanitarian networks under attack. It's not a fantasy because organizations like the Cyber Peace Institute in Geneva and the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams, FIRST, are already laying this groundwork. work. The unrealized opportunity is scaling it, creating a global alliance that treats cyber stability as a public good, not a competitive advantage in only. So, what does leadership need to do in the age of digital fragility? Well, peace engineering is going to ultimately depend on the caliber of our leadership. Leaders must be willing to design beyond the metrics of uptime, cost, or compliance and start measuring trust, transparency, and recovery time of conscious. As a leader, you don't just secure your enterprise, you set the tone for the ecosystem. You model what it means to act with restraint, fairness, and foresight in a world that's obsessed with speed and scale. Cyber peace engineering isn't just about the technical aspects. It's very much about the moral leadership in code form. It's choosing to stabilize rather than sensationalize, to protect rather than provoke, to engineer for resilience rather than dominance. Strategic takeaways is really us thinking how we translate peace into practice. Well, number one would be to adopt peace by design standards, embed stability and resilience criteria into your system engineering lifecycle, institutionalize reciprocity, build cross-sector partnerships that turn transparency into deterrence, share threat intelligence, not just after breaches, but before escalation, integrate ethics at scale, because every cyber system, from IoT to AI, should undergo an ethical assurance review as part of standard QA. Empower humanitarian cyber teams, encourage national service models or public-private task forces that focus on digital trust restoration. And lastly, teach peace engineering. Introduce it into university STEM programs and executive leadership courses, blending cybersecurity, systems engineering, and ethics. So our closing reflection is about the architecture of hope. We often say that peace is not the absence of war, but rather the presence of justice. In cyberspace, justice is trust, the quiet confidence that our systems, our data, and our lives are not being manipulated behind the screen. The next great leap in cybersecurity will not come from stronger algorithms or bigger budgets. It will come from a shift in purpose, because the true measure of progress isn't how fast we innovate, but how safely we can coexist around the world. Cyber peace engineering invites us to design for coexistence, to make every line of code a declaration of peace, because in the end, resilience is not just about surviving attacks. It's about sustaining trust. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell again, founder of CSTGIA, bringing you week 42, Cyber Peace Engineering, Designing Stability in a Weaponized World.